So we have been doing the plant kingdom classification, and so far we've discussed 5 categories of plants. We have done about algae, we have discussed pteridophytes, and apart from that bryophytes. And the previous video that you should have watched was on gymnosperms. So we did that gymnosperms are called so because of the term gymno, that means naked, and sperm means seed. So naked seed, that means there is no covering outside the ovule and it develops just like that, exposed. The next thing that we have to do is angiosperms. Now, unlike gymnosperms, in angiosperms there is a specialized organ that helps to cover the seed while it is developing, and that organ is known as a fruit. Not a fruit, sorry, flower. So after the fertilization, that flower develops into the fruit. So that is basically the difference between angiosperms and gymnosperms. Angiosperms have flowers which are then converted into fruits. So the seeds are enclosed, and it's an exceptionally large group of plants that occur in so many different kinds of habitats. And the size range is also immense. It can be from almost microscopic Wolffia to really big, huge trees. For example, eucalyptus, which can easily grow, it can easily exceed 100 meters in length. But on the other hand, we also saw this kind of variety in gymnosperms, where the tallest trees were sequoia. Sequoia is the redwood giant tree, and that is actually a gymnosperm. Even conifers, they are gymnosperms. Angiosperms also have immense variety. Now, angiosperms are divided into two. They are divided into dicotyledons and monocotyledons. So basically we call them dicots and monocots. Monocots basically means one cotyledon, and dicots means 2 cotyledons in their seeds. And in this case, it's only 1 cotyledon in the seed. So we'll be discussing more about this, but you should know that the male sex organ in the flower is the stamen. That is a characteristic of all angiosperms, and each stamen has a filament with an anther at the tip. So this is the anther, and this is the filament or the stalk-like structure. Now, the anthers after meiosis, they give pollen grains. After meiosis, they result in pollen grains. The female sex organ is the pistil or the carpel. And the pistil has an ovary that contains 1 or many ovules. Containing 1 or more ovules. Within ovules, you have the female gametophytes called the embryo sacs. Embryo sac formation is from meiosis, just like in this case. Not mitosis, it is meiosis. So each of the cells of an embryo sac is haploid because it's meiosis, not diploid. So that is basically the division of the flower. The male part, called the stamen, it has anther and the filament. In the anther, through meiosis, pollen grains are produced. And the female part is known as pistil or carpel, that houses the ovary that can have 1 or more ovules. And through meiosis, there is development of embryo sacs that are haploid. Now, each embryo sac has a few components. It has a 3-celled egg apparatus. That means it has 1 egg cell, 2 synergids, plus it has 3 antipodal cells, plus 2 polar nuclei. So this is called an egg apparatus. So one egg cell with 2 synergids and 3 antipodal cells and 2 polar nuclei. Now these polar nuclei are the ones that are eventually going to combine together to form a diploid secondary nucleus. Now remember, right now they're haploid because they have been produced by meiosis. Both of them will actually fuse and form the secondary nucleus later. So pollen grain, after it gets dispersed from the anthers, they are carried by different agencies to the end of this pistil, which is called a stigma, that is the opening of the pistil. Till that they go. And this process of the anthers sending their pollen grains and pollen grains reaching the stigma, this entire process is known as pollination. So what we are going to do next is the entire life cycle of an angiosperm, explained in the form of a diagram. So the first stage that you start with is a sporophyte. And remember what we are doing? We are doing life cycle of an angiosperm. Alright, so sporophyte, it contains 2 different parts. It contains the stigma, which is going to be the opening, and it also contains the anther. Okay, so the sporophyte has the stigma and the anther, which is the male, and stigma is the female. Now stigma is in this form. Let me draw a little rough diagram, and so this is how it's going to look like. This part over here, it's the ovary, and this part over here, it's called the style, and this part is the stigma. This is where the pollen grains are going to get attached, and pollen grains are going to be there in the tip of this anther, that is the filament, and this is the anther. So this helps to form the microsporangium, and this further gives rise to microspores. These microspores further form a combined microspore, a little group called pollen grain. And remember, the process of cell division is meiosis throughout. Now this gives rise to the male gametophyte. Now in the meantime, let's see what happens to the ovary. The ovary has a megasporangium, which is called an ovule. This further combines with the male gametophyte and they produce the egg. This egg further gets produced into a zygote. This zygote gets in the form of an embryo. So remember, this is a fertilized egg. First there's just going to be a simple egg, then fertilization will take place. Fertilized egg leads to zygote, zygote leads to embryo, and the embryo will lead to the next generation of sporophytes. So that is the process. So sporophyte develops into the stigma and the anther. The anther slowly gives rise to the male gametophyte. The stigma gives rise to the egg. Both of them fuse and they are all haploid. So right now the fertilized egg is going to be diploid. So till now everything is haploid, and then diploid, it gives rise to embryo that develops into a new sporophyte. So sporophyte is also diploid in its composition. So that is the life cycle of an angiosperm. Now in case of plants, especially in angiosperms, both the haploid and the diploid cells, they have the ability to divide by mitosis, which is different from meiosis. This ability leads to formation of different kinds of plants. It can be a haploid plant or it can be a diploid plant. So on the basis of that, we are going to do 3 different kinds of life cycles. So those are going to be haplontic, diplontic, and haplodiplontic. So haplontic, diplontic, and haplodiplontic, depending on how the division is taking place. So let's start with the haplontic. So let's start with a gametophyte. Now gametophyte is always haploid. That is, it contains only half of the chromosome. So let's label it as N. Through the process of gametogenesis, that means formation of gametes, this gives rise to zygote, and two gametes will meet. So through syngamy, which is the fusion of two different gametes, you are going to have a diploid zygote that is going to have 2N. This is further going to undergo meiosis, and that is going to lead to many spores which are going to be of N composition, and those spores will further lead to gametophytes. So that is how the haplontic cycle takes place. How the diplontic takes place is you start with a sporophyte, which is going to be 2N in this case, in diplontic one. This will lead to meiosis. This meiosis is going to give off gametophytes that are going to be haploid, so N, and this will lead to gametogenesis. And then there is going to be syngamy, that is combination of the gametes. That is going to lead to a zygote, which is going to be 2N in this case. And this 2N zygote leads to the sporophyte, which is also 2N. So one thing you can notice, the difference between haplontic and diplontic is that in haplontic, zygote undergoes meiosis to form the spores. In this, zygote directly leads to a sporophyte, and then meiosis is done to form the gametophyte. So that is one major area of difference. The next kind is the haplodiplontic. So let's start with the gametophyte, which is N in this case. Gametophyte is right now haploid. It leads to gametogenesis. That means formation of the gametes. Then there is syngamy. So in syngamy, two different gametes meet each other. So let me put an extra arrow in all of these, wherever syngamy takes place. After syngamy, it results in a zygote that is obviously going to be 2N. A zygote, if you see everywhere, it is going to be 2N. In this case also, in this case also, in this case, because it is syngamy. So that means two different gametes are meeting. This zygote helps in formation of sporophyte, which is obviously going to be 2N. This is going to undergo meiosis. Through meiosis, it's going to form spores, which are obviously going to be N, and now the gametophyte will also be N. So one thing you can observe, in this haplodiplontic, there are going to be some features that are common to haploid and the haplontic, and some features that are going to be common to the diplontic. For instance, look at this, sporophyte causing meiosis, causing gametophytes. This process from zygote till gametophyte, this process matches diplontic. Whereas this process, that a gametophyte with N, leads to gametogenesis, leads to syngamy, leads to a 2N zygote. This entire process, this is haplontic. So that is the combination of haplontic and diplontic, so you get haplodiplontic. The examples of haplontic are many kinds of algae such as Volvox, Spirogyra, and even some species of Chlamydomonas. Examples of diplontic include an algae called Fucus, and lots of seed-bearing plants. In fact, all seed-bearing plants, all gymnosperms and angiosperms, they follow this pattern with some kind of variations. All the gymnosperms and the angiosperms follow this pattern. Coming to haplodiplotic, who is going to be haplodiplotic is going to be bryophytes and pteridophytes. They are going to be haplodiplotic. The only difference between them is going to be what is going to be the dominant phase. For some it's going to be the sporophyte, for some it's going to be the gametophyte. And usually gametophyte is going to be haploid, like in this case N, and the sporophyte is going to be diploid, which is 2N. So sporophyte is diploid, it is usually the photosynthetic vascular plant body, and pteridophytes exhibit this pattern. Pteridophytes, so let me just write ter, and bryophytes show the gametophyte as the dominant phase. That is haploid, and it is a thalloid or an erect phase, haploid gametophyte, and sometimes it's a multicellular sporophyte, or it can be partially dependent on the gametophyte as well. So that is all about the plant kingdom that you need to know right now at this grade level. So far what we have done is, we have done the different kinds of plants that are there. So in the plant kingdom, we have discussed the 5 types. We have discussed algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and in this video we have just discussed the angiosperms. Along with all this classification, we have also done the 3 kinds of fertilization that take place, or the 3 kinds of life cycles. That is diplontic, which is in case of most of the gymnosperms, angiosperms and some algae. And we have done the haplontic, which is mostly in case of algae. And we have also done the haplodiplotic, which is in case of bryophytes and pteridophytes. The only difference between bryophytes and pteridophytes is the dominant phase. So that's all in this video, and the next thing that we have to do is classification in the animal kingdom. So keep watching and keep sharing. Thank you so much for watching.